Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Playing for Sushi, Football Life in Japan. Today we have the dual threat quarterback for the Nojima Sagami Hara Rise, Palandech, and just thank you for coming on today. And we're going to share his story.
Yeah, thanks for having me on today.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Yeah. So this is your third season, right? You're going on third season, right?
Correct. Yeah. So my first one was the COVID year of 2020. Short two-game season. I guess you can call it a season. And then 2021 was the first full season, and now is my third.
Yeah, you're headed into the playoffs right now.
Right.
But just to kind of give your background, so you are from a small town, Plainfield, Illinois, right?
Right. So it's funny you call it a small town because when I lived in Illinois, I didn't consider it a small town, right? It's about 40, 50,000 people. And
well, comparatively to where you live now.
Right. So compared now, you got 15 million people in Tokyo. And, but yeah, it's, in Illinois, you got some small farm towns out there. Some towns have 200 people, right? So I felt like, I was
Midwest,
Midwest kid, and now I live here in Japan, and I'll correct you, I'm not a Tokyo guy anymore. I actually moved to Kanagawa, so proud Kanagawa Prefecture.
Okay.
Play for Sagami Hara, and I live there now, so.
Okay.
It's definitely a big difference in that sense, just like the pure size of Tokyo being accessible. But Plainfield is a great Midwest home, and proud hometown.
And so your journey, right? You went to North Dakota, then you ended up in Laney for a little bit over there in California. Then you finally ended up in UNLV, and you played there for 3 seasons? 3 seasons, right?
3 seasons. So, it was a bit of a journey to get to UNLV. And I want to give a big shout out to Coach John Beam and Coach Robert Crowley at Laney College.
Yep.
I love the JC experience. It's definitely a grind. And it accomplished what I wanted to. It got me the chance to play FBS football at UNLV. And I played from 2015 to 2018 at UNLV.
And probably not a lot of people know this in Japan, but you have probably one of the, I think number 2, right? Like most points scored in a game. You had a historical shootout with who's now one of the hottest quarterbacks in the NFL, Josh Allen, and you won that matchup, right?
Yeah, that was a wild game, and I'm not sure where it ranks now in the days of stats, but at the time it was 1 or 2 up there in the highest scoring games, and it was a wild one for sure. It was my first start that year, and the Wyoming had a great team, and I think they're in first place in Mountain West, so. Yeah, there was a lot of dramatic points. I don't know how deep you want to get into that game, but we had
that was your first start ever.
Yeah. Well, I played some my sophomore year, but it was my first start that junior season. So going into fall camp, I was in a QB battle and got hurt. Kind of got buried in the depth chart that year. So it was about week 7 or 8, I think that game was. So I wasn't playing at all. The coaches made some QB decisions, benched a guy. I think one got hurt, and then it was finally my turn against the number 1 team in the Mountain West at the time. And it was one to remember. I think 69, 66, and we had a kicker go out with a full body cramp. And our backup center was snapping. So there was no short of dramatic points.
I didn't watch the whole game. I remember, I think I got a message from somebody. I can't specifically remember who was like, "You need to watch this. This game is insane." And I remember. You guys were just going back and forth, and I mean, from a defensive guy, I wouldn't have showed up for meetings the next day.
Sick, huh?
I would have been like, "Hey, coach, I think I have something. I think I'm gonna miss meetings today." But so from there you went and you had your career at UNLV ended, and you went to play arena ball for a little bit, right?
Yeah. Before I went there, I guess I had a mention. I went to UNLV baseball. So my senior year ended, and I graduated in 2017 actually, and I was working on my MBA at the time. So I played the 2017-18 season, but I had that still spring semester. And I decided to forego my pro day and do UNLV baseball instead. So I did that, and then from there I got into the working field, and then that led me to arena. But
so you took a break from football?
Yeah, a momentary break. I guess I was still training. So my idea was after baseball, I knew I wanted to do something, but the NFL wasn't really like a realistic, I think, goal at that point. It was just more like, okay, what can I do as an athlete? I still could run, and I saw the XFL and Alliance coming up, and I was like, you know what, maybe if I want to play football, that's the way to go. So it's like, I'll do next year's pro day. I'll start training again, and maybe as wide receiver or QB. But that was kind of my goal, was, all right, I'll just make it to next year's pro day. And then, you know, one of my friends, he went to the IFL and ended up going to Canada, the CFL. And he was like, man, instead of kind of waiting the whole year, why don't you give this arena thing? So I quit my job, moved to Cedar Rapids, and started playing indoor football.
And then you played there for 1 year, then you moved and you went to the Europe row. And
Right.
played for Berlin for a little bit.
Yeah, so while I was playing indoor football, one of the, I guess, representatives from Berlin Rebels reached out to me and seeing what my plans were. And the whole point of going to indoor football was not to make that a permanent home. I kind of had that same junior college mindset, like, I'm going to go try to get some film, because maybe I didn't have the best college film or consistent. So try to go show what I can do in arena and then see where I can go from there, whether it's a higher league or whatnot. But yeah, they reached out to me, and it sounded like a cool opportunity to go live overseas and play football in the GFL. At the time, the ELF or whatever that is,
ELF.
it didn't exist. So GFL was kind of like, you know, a top league at the time, and I wanted to go play out there.
Oh, nice. And then in the 2020, in all the madness of what was 2020, you get onto the Nojima. And so where did that connection, because you were kind of one of the few guys that I really don't know how you found Japan and how you got all connected.
Well, I guess it'll probably make more sense to you once I make name drop here. But yeah, Tim Goins was a big part of that, right? So I think you know Tim.
Sensei.
Sensei. So I guess I found him when I was in Germany. One of the reasons why I wanted to come play in Japan is it was more of a 12-month, full-time, stable league, it looked like. And I heard really good things about the level of play. And, you know, I felt like it was a step up from where I was at in the GFL. So I just didn't know anyone there, right? So I started researching teams, trying to contact players, go on the team websites. And I actually found Tim through LinkedIn, since we're both UNLV alumni.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this guy was the director of the league, he coached. This is a perfect guy. I go try to get on the phone with him. And he was able to connect me with our current GM, Ishii-san, and from there I was able to get a workout and stuff. But yeah, Tim Goins was a big part of that connection.
Now that all makes sense. Yeah.
There you go.
And so, you joined the X League in kind of a crazy time, right? Like, the world, we didn't know. I mean, I still remember. I mean, we were getting ready to have you probably don't know about it, but it was called the Pro Bowl tournament. We used to have a spring tournament. So it's never been played since 2020. And I remember we were getting practices in and stuff like that, and it was just like boom, everything shut down. And I remember just like for 2 or 3 months being like, all right, what are we gonna do? And we didn't know what the fall season was gonna look like. And then I remember we didn't know I didn't know yet who we were going to play in the fall yet. And I remember your name coming up, through some people that I know that you were coming to play for the Rise. And I remember kind of like, well, I need to go research this guy. I need to go research this guy in case we play him. But your first year, you kind of bursted on the scene, right? I called you a dual threat quarterback because, I mean, your first couple games, you burnt teams with your legs. And I mean, and then your 2020 year, your highlight, right, was your 97-yard run against IBM.
Yeah, it was a memorable day for sure. But yeah, I guess to back it up a little bit, that 2020, just getting here was a huge battle, right? So I came out, I told you, I met Ishii-san maybe in, I think it was February or March. And,
so right before everything went crazy.
So I went out here, signed the contract, just sent me home to go, get the official visas and get my stuff and come back. And when I went home to come back, borders closed, everything got locked down, so I kind of got stuck in limbo. And I was part-time substitute teaching, training, driving FedEx at one point, and I was like, man, am I ever going to even get in the country? So fortunately, I was just able to get in. It was late October, so I was there for
that was right. And that was right when
the season started. So that limbo period was tough. I signed, but I didn't really feel like it was a real thing realized yet. So
you must have been, you must have not have been driving for FedEx because your legs looked fine when you got out here. You must have been running with those packages, but
So it was a journey to get here, but once I got here, man, it's been great. Like so, we had two wins to start the career, which was awesome, and then now it's just been a process of trying to rebuild the rise. When I came in 2020, I kind of knew I was getting into. They were coming from the regulation game, or whatever, the elimination game.
They were pretty close to being eliminated.
So yeah, they played the Silver Stars to stay in the X1, and so the way Ishii-san told me, and TJ the Sensei, Tim, kind of saying it's going to be a rebuild project, and I knew I was getting into, and now we're here. So just got to keep the path and stay the course.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, like historically, Rise, you guys have always been like one of the tougher teams, and it's good to see you guys back. Right, last year you guys missed out on the playoffs. This year you guys are getting into the playoffs, right?
Right.
And so what is that preparation like for you? Right, your first time going into the playoffs. Now you're third. You're considered somewhat a veteran on the team, right? A veteran leader of the offense and things like that. How has this team over the years grown in your eyes?
Yeah, I think the biggest part is just the details. We have some good players and we do some good things, but the inconsistency is why we lose games. And we missed the playoffs last year, and I'm sure there's a lot of plays we wanted to have back from that game, and that's the same thing now. So we're 3-2. We lost some games that maybe we felt got away from us, that were kind of self-inflicted. So we're trying to eliminate those problems, and that's a big thing. What I do is, whether we win or lose, I try to have the guys evaluate the film and say, what did I do good? What did I do bad? Don't be result oriented, be like the process. And I think that's what football is about, is like we were talking about earlier. It's every play is a standalone play, right?
Yeah. You never know which one's going to be the one.
6, so, that's kind of the mindset I'm trying to bring to our offense.
Nice. So in your 3 years, right? So when you first, I guess when you first got here, it was probably kind of chaotic and things like that. But throughout your years, as far as players, Japanese players on the rise, who's really been somebody who's caught your eye and been really kind of stand out to you?
Well, I guess, there's a lot of good players, but one guy I'll mention, because he's not only a great player, but, he's a great leader for us, someone off the field, is Yuhei Yagi. He's our co-captain on our team and speaks perfect English, which is a big help for me. So anytime I have a meeting with the coaches or trying to talk to another player, Yagi's always right there. And he's not only someone that can translate, but, he really understands the game, and he really gets it. So having someone like him in the locker room with you on the field, being your captain, he's a great teammate, and he's definitely a great leader.
That's awesome. Yeah, Yagi's always been, throughout my career, he was always been a pain in my butt to play against. We were always like, I remember we'd get the game plan, and if it didn't say double team 85, I was like, no, take this back. No, that's awesome. And then how, you also have on the other side of the ball, right? You have Lee Hightower, who's been there a lot longer than you. How was it having him there, transitioning into Japan, football in Japan and just life in general here?
Yeah. You called me the vet. I would say, Lee's probably the vet on our team, but he's definitely a guy that's seen some of the highs and lows of the rise, and also the stuff off the field. So I think he was great. When I first moved here, I lived with Lee, and we were all in the house together. He's a guy that can help you get adjusted to life and ball and what to expect in Japan. And I'm not sure how many years he's been out here, but
it's been a few. I think
he's been coming home here. I think
5 or 6.
I'm not sure if he officially calls Japan home, but it's getting close.
Yeah, he's got a couple more years. I think he probably will call it home. You've been here for 3 years. Kind of, and then you played in Germany for a bit, right?
One season in Germany.
Yeah, but how do you feel about the comparison between, Germany and, I've heard some things, and, I've actually played once against a team in Germany.
Oh, yeah?
It was
Which one?
Düsseldorf Panthers. We went there. I didn't play, and I was hurt, unfortunately, but it really didn't matter because I remember we beat them pretty easily. But just kind of like, what are some of the differences that you've seen?
So the reason why I called it maybe a step up earlier was, I felt in the GFL, maybe it's not for every team, but the team in Berlin, we had guys that were living in other countries, right? So practice turnout was kind of a tough thing for us.
Wow.
So your game plan was just through, email or Zoom call or something, and you wouldn't see them till game day. And it's really hard, building a true connection like with a wide receiver unit like that, or any type of game plan. Where here in Japan, my guys are there every weekend, at least most of them. We're watching huddle together, we're practicing, and I just think maybe physically it's about the same, but that extra time together is really what separates it. And yeah, I think that's what we need to do more of. But that's why I would say maybe the level of play I feel is better here.
That's I didn't know that.
I don't think it's for everybody, but yeah, it was.
Wow, I mean, like, here when I was at 𝐒𝐔𝐻, we'd have guys come from Osaka.
Right.
But I mean, that's, luckily the way it works here, right? That's a 2-hour bullet train. Our practices would be a little bit later on Saturdays, but, still everybody would be there. But man, you're coming from different countries. Yeah. That's insane.
And sometimes it was just because like an injury thing, like, we need a guy to play this week, so we're going to call him up and get a running back. But
come right off the couch.
Right. You don't know what they're doing. I just think that's what held our team back was, just the details weren't there, right, when you're playing like that. So, football is a game where you got to be on the same page, and it just wasn't there at all times.
And so, going into your third year, where, so far, what has been your impression of football here in Japan, and, just going into the future, right? We talked a little bit that you would love to have a life here after football and things like that, being involved in the game. Kind of what are some things that you would want to see in the future for football here?
Yeah, I think football is great here. Maybe it doesn't have the exposure like the fans and the resources, but I think the quality is great. The players, they take it serious and they're trying to get better, and it shows up on the film, right? Like, I think it's a very competitive league. Regarding just Japan football in general, I would love to be a part of it. I don't know exactly how yet after playing, coaching or sponsoring it, or, I don't know. But, I think the league has a lot of room to grow. And seeing international football, and like we said, the ELF start up, it'd be cool to see if they had like a world championship or something going, or...
My money's on Japan. Whoever we send out, I'm always on my social media, and I will stand and shout from the rooftops.
Yeah,
if anybody wants to play a team here in Japan, I will 100% back it.
I think it would be cool for the league, right? Get some more people watching it and being aware about it, because I think even as an American player, it's not really an option to a lot of guys because they don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
But they're kind of aware of Europe, so I think that's where Japan football could grow, is just raising the awareness outside the borders. And I think, you could do that through like a world championship kind of game, which would be cool. But I don't know where the X League stands with that.
We can get rid of the World Cup, and we'll just have a our league versus your league kind of deal go on.
Cool.
That would be interesting. Well,
but I think what you're doing too at the college level is what's great too, right? Is, trying to get the guys involved in football and younger.
It's been an interesting transition. We talked about me wanting to coach, and I remember, somebody asked me, they were like, "Why'd you go to the University of Tokyo?" And I was like, because I wanted to see how good of a coach I can become, and then also too, I learned under one of the best head coaches in all of Japan, Mori-san. I don't know if you know who Mori-san is. You should know. He is one. For 3 months, I've sat under this guy, and I've been amazed. Like, I've learned so much, and just sitting there, and like I can literally just sit under him and just I take notes, I write memos, I put things in my phone. Like, I'll have my phone and just have like all these notes on things he said and how he operates. And I don't know if he knows I do that, but we don't have, if you roster wise, right? People will say like, "Oh, you don't have the best athletes," but what we're doing at the University of Tokyo with the kids that we have, because like for me, I was never the big athletic. I wasn't the most, strongest kid. So a lot of these kids, I can relate to how they feel, and they probably don't believe that, But I mean, it's a fun thing, and I hope you get to experience it. It's very rewarding. I would say that.
Yeah,
so at one point, I told my wife, I was like, I think I like coaching more than I like, outside of being able to hit people. I think I like coaching more than I like playing. But Kurt, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the way. Stay healthy, and keep blazing for those runs and throwing touchdowns,
man. That's right. Yeah, thanks for having me today. It was a pleasure. So
take care, man.
Try to get the win.
I want to thank 𝐺𝐵's Cafe for having us back here again. It's over here in Hiyoshi Station out in Kanagawa. They have all kinds of burgers, all kinds of drinks. It's a fun environment. Like you can see, right? They have the NASCAR American environment going on. Thank you again so much for having us, and I hope you guys enjoyed today and look forward to newer episodes.